Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star, Mopars.com. Saturday night, still getting some cleaning done, trying to get some stuff covered that's been needing to be covered. And more importantly, we're kind of pushing this one through ahead of some others because I need one of the tools tomorrow. So, KC Tool, anytime you place an order, you're going to receive a bit of things. That's currently shipping as a number 2 from VIT. At the time of this order, mystery stickers weren't a thing. So if you exceeded the $100 mark, you would get a German tool sticker pack. $75 mark gets you free freight. I want to say I did this at the tail end of like the big Knipex sale they had. Don't hold me to it, but the last time we had played around with Knipex, not too long ago, we had brought these in. Maybe that was a couple ago. It's getting hard to even remember. But this is a fantastic pair of pliers, Knipex combination needle nose. I love them. I think there's 2 or 3 here at work. I've got them all over the place. They're that good. This is the same thing, just larger. It's a recent release from Knipex. We brought in the VDE, did get that fixed. The panel on lathe too. It was nice having something insulated. Probably didn't have to have it, but I would rather not flirt with disaster. And these don't really have anything to do with what you're about to see, which is right here, okay? And this, if you recall, we've also showcased, I think, a little newer than this one, the way I wound up releasing, or will release the videos. But this was something that I brought over for a good reason. This has a nice segue to what we actually bought, so don't worry about it. But when I showcased this, I told you I was kind of like torn. Do I take the standard dipped handle to work? That's what I've done. I think I've had it there 3-4 days maybe. And I have used it, and I've used it a lot. You know what I used it on? Cable ties. It was entirely cable ties. It was kind of disappointing, but at least it's there and getting used, right? So this thing, this is all I intended to grab for a segue into a tool here. But check this out. When I pulled this out, I caught like an angle I had not seen in the, like time that we'd messed around with it. Do you see how these handles are? Like, we could come in. I do not have a pick here for some reason. That's of concern. But if I just grab this precision driver, I can like drop it down into this gap. And you think like gap, there shouldn't be a gap there. They do their handles really good. You're probably thinking of dip styled handles, right? And you'll say, no, I love their 2 component. I don't even buy dipped, and they're like this, right? This one, aside from being dirty, it's like a super tight fit. You don't see any gaps or chasms or anything. And you think, well, show us this. This is a newer tool. See how like you can't... This is the chrome plated one, so it's fancy, but see how it's like flush and there's nothing, no gaps or anything? Take a look at these TwinForce pliers now. You see that gap there? I guess it's something they've done with the handle. I don't know if it's like for rigidity or strength or what, but it is kind of strange. I don't think we'll really have issues with it, but it was just something I was like, well, that is odd. See what I mean? It just kind of looks sloppy by Knipex standards. There's like a gap. It's a noticeable gap here. If we had like, I don't know, like green Kool-Aid or something, I could pour some and I think you could visibly see it stand in this pocket. I don't know why it's like that. I really do not know. But I thought that was of interest. So if someone's like, man, that looked terrible, and you didn't even, you just glossed right over that, sorry. I'm still super excited about this because, again, that was on my Knipex bucket list for forever. And I'm very glad to finally have it. But I thought that was an interesting little piece. That'll tie in with the second item we're going to look at. But the first item we're going to look at, I think this was a deal. I tell you, even when there's sales, I check like the clearance section and things, and I don't know why. I've got it's a really minor thing, and you would not have to have this pair of pliers for, but it was a really good buy. I have nothing. I've never owned anything even remotely close to these, and I wanted to try them. So, Knipex 3741 125. And these are kind of funky, I'm not going to lie. 2806 would be the MSRP. with all the sales and discounts and everything going on at the time, we probably pulled these in closer to like 15 or something. They're very small, and you're thinking like, okay, electronic stuff. Anytime you've had small stuff, and it's not like pocket EDC stuff, it's electronics. Yeah, now check this out. Some of you may use these all the time. It's basically designed to make wire loops, and I realize, you know, this would probably be a great tool if we were sitting there and we were doing a reno, or, you know, we have to come in and we just do new construction and we're throwing up light switch after light switch, outlet after outlet. Maybe you're just going in and you and your wife bought a house and you're sort of updating it, and then there's stuff you can save money on by doing yourself, and y'all decide that you want like smart outlets or just USBs. You know, you can Harbor Freight sells them, for frick's sake. And you come in and you kind of just want to like resize or get everything a little bit more finite than maybe the rushed crew did. Something like this would be pretty cool. I thought of all those things. It's also a really sharp point. You can absolutely, like, you can't really see it because I've adjusted the camera angle, but back here, you'll note there's nothing in these jaws, and I can come in awkwardly around the tripod and I can successfully pick up that screw right there, right? It aren't magnetized or anything, as you can see by it falling to the ground, but again, I'm just going to look through the camera, which is really hard to do, and I can just pick it up. Very daint, very light pressure. So yes, you can grab, you can pick up. It might get you in a spot where these didn't fit, and you think, haha, I'll go down to my, you know, smaller pair and have it covered. Well, look at this. Look at that profile. This will probably, mainly in part, due to this section here, instead of like bushing out, it's sort of more uniform. That'll probably get you places that wouldn't. However, what I had in mind for these is making springs, and you're thinking like, making springs, that's kind of stupid. Yeah, totally, again, not necessary. The main thing, if I ever do like a crud ton of outlets, these will be really nice. That's basically all I can think of with wire loops. But for that, you come in, you know, I'm not talking necessarily like the radiator springs we have to make because nobody sells the things anymore, but like throttle springs, things like that. I thought these might be worth having. That's literally why they're here. That, and they were stupid cheap. Plus, I legitimately, let me know, some of you probably use these all the time, some of you have probably never seen anything like them. It's almost like a pair of horns. That's literally, like, they don't flush out or anything. It's literally like if you took a traffic cone, you know, this is a kind of an exaggerated example, but take a traffic cone and just put it on the end of the pliers here. That's what it is. Like, there is no, like, it's not just a machining thing. It is just basically 2 points that make a pair of pliers that obviously would be really good for wrapping things. So this is a terrible example most likely, but it's sitting here, and it's kind of one of those things where I was like, why not just go to town with it, huh? So let me grab one that's kind of lengthed out. This will do nicely. These are some of the staples I pull at work. I brought them back for like cutting demos. But like if I just take this, again, staple, you can't tell because it's mangled, but if we come in, you see how it's holding there, and then I just do this. I realize that's probably too close, but see what we're doing there? And obviously if I wanted to use another pair of pliers to save my hands, we can do that. Do you see what we've done though? Do you see how nice and uniform that is? Obviously mirroring with the jaws here. Think of the things you can do that these probably weren't supposed to be used for. And that's where I'm going with it. As I mentioned, the springs I think would be a sleeper item. Also something just like that. If you have, you know, as long as it's something you can bend by hand or put in a brake, or, you know, like a little rod bender type of a thing, lighter duty than that, but, you know, pushing to where you'd have to start using a rod bender. Pegboard type hooks if it's soft enough material, but think a little bit smaller, not necessarily like a Christmas ornament hook, although that's another good example. If you still do those, you know the ones I'm talking about, you put them away very carefully in some like $80 Christmas ornament holder your wife has you order in. And despite doing that, carrying it level at all times, storing it for the next 360 days perfectly flat, you take it out and the hooks are gone, or they're just all accumulated around 4 ornaments and you have to go back. Yeah, that stuff, fishing, all sorts of things come to mind. But I'm kind of thinking of like just making wire hooks. Again, maybe a little thicker than that staple, but something, you know, like I could bend that and we could hang a wrench from it. We could hang a screwdriver, anything with a hanging hole. Like I said, nothing, I don't own anything like it, which makes it good. It's going to have a purpose where other things I don't have can't, right? How well we like it, how much I can do with it, whether what I want to do works out or not remains unseen. But at the price point we were able to get these, and again, the fact that I have nothing even remotely similar to this item, it's a win. Previously, if I wanted to do anything and have like a consistent bend, I had to find an object to wrap around. A lot of times that would be like a punch or something, right? You're looking for like something, you know, 8-side, 6-side, cylindrical, something to just kind of hold on and wrap around so you can get like a consistently-ish bend. This is a little bit of an upgrade there, so probably not the most exciting thing you will ever see from Knipex, but could be quite useful. If you use that, or maybe it's a larger pair or something, or from a different manufacturer, outside of the obvious, you know, like making loops, you know, in electrical applications, like what do you do with them? Is it hobbyish? Do you find like, man, you know, those, I've got tackle box on my boat, I've got one in the back of the truck, I've got, you know, my really fan, like, do you have 4 of them? Are they that good? Is it that exactly thing, like you've been using it for Christmas ornament hooks? Whatever it might be, leave a comment. It might not only help me out, but I think it'll help a lot of other people decide if they want to pull the trigger there. Now, I've got to pick this paper up, and we've got to talk about the TwinForce. The TwinForce, as I mentioned, yes, we've had the plastic dipped one for a long time, but this was on the Knipex bucket list. This is something that really bothered me. And you know what else bothers me? I'm just going to do you a favor. For the OCD crowd, just so we have kind of symmetry. That gap was killing me. So it looks a little better aesthetically now, kind of. But these right here were a bucket list, and I waited and waited and never got tool of the day, but finally when that sale came around, we pulled the trigger. This next item is the same way. I've wanted to use these, and they're going to be used tomorrow, provided the person shows up. These are expensive. Same with the TwinForce. The TwinForce and this, what else do they have aside from being a bucket list item for me? They are expensive. They're very expensive by the standards of Pliers, at least. Granted, keep in mind, this was a huge sale when we did this, but if you were to pull it up right now, Knipex part number 8551250 AF, you'd be looking at $121.65. That is a lot of money. Okay, that is a ton of money, and that is why I've lived my life without them. I think the price could come down a bit, and I think they would sell way more, probably more than enough to offset like the crazy price. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know how involved and detailed and elaborate, you know, the manufacturing process is and how many steps are taken to make it functional and execute well. But it's one of those things, you know, you could sell your car for $50,000 and, you know, maybe you sell 100 units, or you could sell it for $35,000 and you might sell 300 units, right? So you sort of have to weigh that out internally and like, well, you know, at what point do we cross over? But the item in question, again, we're going to one more time with that part number, 8551250 AF. What does that tell you? Well, the AF is going to indicate something special. The 250 is going to be your length. The rest, kind of the plier and the grip. And if I take my thumb away here, you're going to see 10-inch spring hose clamp pliers. And you're like, oh, wow, spring hose clamp pliers. This is going to be good. We went all out here with lock. That adds a bit more to the price tag. So, like I said, this was sort of a bucket list, a wish list item, and we finally made it happen. And I have not had these out of the pack. I don't know what to expect from them. And I hope that we like them, because even on the sale, hey, this is rare. Ooh, hey, flyer. You might not be excited about this, but for a guy making a video to put on the internet machine, this is nice. Thank you, Knipex. So, the bag here, and if I take the plastic off, there they are in all their glory. The crazy thing, even with this premium of a price tag, you cheapskate, you should have got the 2 components. You're going out and getting the lock. This is the only way these are manufactured and offered, at least currently. If this is a thing where if you've never seen these and you fall in love and you're like, I would pay $150 for that. You know, like put it on the Mack truck and, you know, put their little logo and a warranty on it and I'll give you $180. If stuff like that pans out, this could become something that moves in more volume and people might say, hey, you know, get me the 2 component or get this hideous grip off that a lot of you don't like and put the smooth handles that I can clean. Personally, I like this grip. I do prefer the 2 component on the vast majority of pliers, but I have to say, if I had to pick between their dipped and their textured dipped, which that's what I'm going to call this, I would go this route. I know it gets dirty, it stays dirty, it's harder to clean. I just like the feel of it in my hand better and it doesn't slip as much. This is also partially stigmas from dunking a pair of my plain Knipex pliers and antifreeze, and those still to this day being slick to me. I don't know if it's in my head, if it's just the material, but I just, no. We go 2 component or we go this route. So thing is, we have got a lot going on here, don't we? Again, you can see part number verifies. You've got down here a sort of a, I cannot read that, I am not a German speaker, but it's for something about bands, which probably translates to clamps or constant tension. I'm going to hope that you can see that. That's going to come off, it's going to wear away, but right now having a constant tension clamp on the grip of the pliers, for whatever reason, just greatly amuses me and makes me happy. So, barcode, don't worry, will also go away when we use these. And this is surprisingly a heavy use item. Now, DIY shade tree stuff might not be as much of a thing, but I assure you, if you're like serious about your maintenance and you've got a fleet of vehicles, whether they're hot rods or super cool old muscle cars, or you know, if you've gone down a different path and you're like married with a ton of kids and you kind of get them clunker boxes that you're like, oh, you know, I can keep that thing running until we find out Junior can actually drive without totaling something. Something like this might be worth looking into. And I say that before we dive into this further, we should probably flash back. One of my favorite pairs, believe it or not, is still right here. It's from Channellock. It's the 558. These are insanely hard to find. I kind of think Mack might have some. But if you take a look, these work with constant tension clamps. They also work with smaller clamps. This style is cool because it has that groove cut. It's also slip joint. So you can, the reason I'm typically not a huge fan of slip joint pliers, but like this would be what I'm limited to, right? And you're thinking like, oh, well, that's maybe good for a heater hose. Well, and then we do this, and you're like, oh, okay. You know, get a larger line there. You know, this is only going to do fuel lines. And it's like, well, hey, that'll do your heater hoses now. So there's a huge benefit there because it doubles up. The problem is, even with those cross-cut grooves, this thing will still spring out. You also have to keep constant tension with your hand or it's going to spring back out, right? And it depends what you're doing. If you're sliding down, trying to do something in unison. Nonetheless, I do like that style of plier. It was a great buy. If we came into Knipex, you've got the SmartGrips, and I really don't use these as much as I should. You'll see why here in a second. But if you think, the other thing I have to tell you, if you're a Knipex connoisseur and you do not own this pair of pliers and you're intrigued by what you're going to see, I will also add this handle. It may be the only place you can get it. I kind of like it. I used to not, but as I've used them, I've kind of gotten like, you know, it's not bad. It's like a very hard, cheap plastic, like you might have on something if you just like say went into Tractor Supply or something. Decent, you know, grip, but you know, nothing crazy. The catch is, if I zoom in here, like this is just hard, solid, smooth. This right here, if I can get it to focus a bit, is almost like textured. So if we took this little pair of pliers here and ran it across this part and then kept the dipped textured stuff there, that is basically where we're at. But it's harder. It's very hard to describe without you being here, but it's a hard plastic, but then the top and the bottom where you see my thumb and my fingers here, those two pieces have a textured section in them. Again, strange until you see it, but it feels quite nice in hand. And the way these work, this little lever here, and you think like, oh, these lock, I don't know what those do, but you didn't need that if you have this. Well, check this out, okay? One-hander, and boom. Beautiful. You think like, okay, now lock it in place, lock it. You're like, do the demo. We've got our little clamp here, you know, on like a 3/4 line or 1 inch or something. You come in, lock it in place. Okay. That's not what it does. This part is literally just to lock the pliers basically for storage, right? So up, you know, towards the head of the pliers is going to be locked. As soon as this comes down, it's unlocked, springs out. That's what this does. And essentially, if I don't know the size here, I'm like, that Channellock pair ain't gonna fit that. You just come in and boom, you're down. You're ready to go. If you then go switch and you immediately pull off a fuel line, boom. If you then have a trans cooler line, boom. You get the idea. That's what the beauty is there. But the shortcoming, if you want to consider it one, this is just a storage lock. It doesn't actually like keep it. If we want to dial it in right here, and you think like, okay, yes, we have a ton of this size, you know, lock it in place and then just drag that thing down and put it on this side of the filter. No, not how these are designed to work. Pretty cool, and it is surprisingly good. It's not really the reach that's an issue, but think of like your pair of Cobras, right? And I even have pairs of Cobras with extra slim heads. Look at that. You see this, picture this is like the pad on a constant tension clamp. There's a lot more pad than there is plier surface area, okay? Now I bring that up because we have this. You're like, oh, Wiha pliers, they're junk, they're made in Vietnam, get that out of here. Hear me out. This is also kind of a unique grip, oddly enough, but I use these a ton for constant tension clamps, the big ones. The way this works, again, this is a lock for storage, make it more compact type of a thing. To get it in action, you do this. Now this pair, this is kind of like full open. Sometimes they spring and they like stop there, and it gets really annoying because as you can see, like full lock to lock, that's a lot of real estate. Some people may not even be able to reach it. You might have to two-hand it. So I'm usually trying to one-hand this. So when I come in and I kick this off, and I'm holding a hose back or something, and it stops here, it's really annoying. It's obviously easy to open it up and get the space I need, and if you think, well, now lock them. Yeah. Again, that's not what that is, sadly. Because if it was, that would be super cool and useful. The thing that's nice about these, that profile, it's very, very similar, but a little different, and I just feel like, for whatever reason, there's slightly more surface area there, and the clamps just stay seated better. That's just my opinion. If I get these side by side, let me articulate this guy for you. I think you'll be able to tell it's really, really close. But right, I've got them kind of end to end there. It is minute. I mean, I will admit, like, it's not like the Wiha goes all the way up here. It's just a little bit more, but it's enough to make a noticeable difference. And that's kind of why I just gravitate to using the Wihas. And, they both kind of get in the same spots, which is nice. The real downside here, again, look at that lock all the way open versus this one. It's just a little bit more manageable. Kind of put this in perspective for you. We'll go this route. And I do mean it's a very subtle difference, but it is noticeable. Just like where the Knipex has this advantage, right? Being that much closer together, the Wiha has the same little difference on the jaws being slightly wider. And for whatever reason, let's get these things shut. If you look at the profiles, they are in fact really, really similar, but just that extra kick in the Wiha, which would be bad for a lot of things, it works well with constant tension clamps, at least in my experience. So that's kind of where we've been. I do have a relatively new one, and I don't know. I've had these for a long time now. And today I just released Mac Tool Haul 1, which was kind of like Mac Tool Haul 3, but 1 hadn't happened, still hadn't happened. That's been a nightmare trying to make that happen, but 2 and 3 are kind of live, and then 1 should have come before the hammer and pry bar, but in that video I mentioned we've already done the hammer and pry bar, so I had to switch back. And I told in that one of those, I said, you know, like, I would have bought this. It was the hammer. I tried to get that stupid drilling hammer for so long, which is now well beat up at work, by the way. But I said, like, you know, I knew it was going to be for 7,500 subscribers, but I would have come in and I would have bought that thing at like Matco 5,000 mark in anticipation to come out and be like, boom, here it is, you know, and it's got however many months or years on it before we hit the 7,500 mark, right? And I can say, I love it, well worth it. Or I can say, really good hammer, unless you're getting a great deal, stick with the S-Wing. But as fate would have it, you know, things are kind of difficult. And I go there because Matco at 5, Mac at 7,500, Snap-on at 10. Well, guess what? Just like I attempted to do with the Mac stuff, you know, the Snap-on videos have been recorded blindly, and then I've been using the stuff. And this is something that was heavily, heavily recommended to me. And I actually have 2 of these, and 1 pair is green, and they are at work, and they are absolutely filthy. And I've also kind of messed up the cutter on them. Yes, there's actually a cutter here. But these are actually pretty good. It's not the surface area there. These are even kind of more tapered than you'd have with the Cobras or the Wiha. It's just the reach on these. This is the bigger pair. I don't have the smaller ones. I hope to get them sometime soon. But going down with these, I can get to really tight confines. They pinch you, yes, absolutely. Ask me how I know. Learned that the hard way. Especially when they come off. They're not the most like solid things going about that method. But for an probably not an intended application, they do quite well there too. And between the Wiha, the SmartGrip style, the traditional Channellock, and then just something like this, just long, thin, pointed pliers with good teeth. That's, again, the huge selling point here is the teeth. You got a pretty good grip and assortment and options to contend with the constant tension clamps. Well, this should be like the creme de la creme, the best of the best. Like, if this is what I think it is, and if it works like I hope it works, this should supersede all of these. Now, there'll be times it'll be too cumbersome and bulky, or it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna rip this off with channel locks. But in a perfect world, this would be the ticket, okay? And if we come and take these in hand, you're going to see, again, we want to verify the part number for you. 751-250. This is the lock. I don't know how well it's going to work or anything because I haven't played with it. But right here on the ends, and these are replaceable, I believe, if we were to lose them, or you lose them, or you lost them and didn't know they were replaceable. And you'll note right here, this is basically like a standard Cobra, but I am not able to... Oh, I am. Okay, cool. So I'm able to bring it out. Here is the deal, okay? This is going to free up the articulation, okay? So let's say that we've got a clamp that needs this amount of space. If I squeeze that in, you know, like, you're gonna have to be, well, so think of this way, like this position on the Cobras will go from here all the way to here, all right? And let's say that constant tension clamp is right here, you know, like closer to the termination point than the opening point, but it's just right here. When I release that, it should lock. That's kind of locking in the closed spot, which I guess could be, it's not quite what I had hoped for, but it's basically, let's just go to the middle here. Like, I was wanting this to be a thing where if this is the range I need to hit that clamp and I picked it and I get to that spot, I wanted that to tuck in there sort of a little bit before that point. Like, if it's right here, I guess we're getting close to timing out there, so I just went ahead and did it. But I guess the workaround to that, that's kind of like my dream scenario, which I don't think now is going to happen. If you have it in the perfect range, it should work like that. But the problem is, like, what I would like to do is sort of like I'm accustomed to with the snap-ons, with the channel locks, with the Wihas, and with these. What I was hoping for is, like, I get to this point, I flip this switch, and it just locks there, okay? Now, with that style, with the push button, it would be a situation where we would slide down, and then basically, you know, like we'd have this much play in that position, we'll say. I wanted to be able to have that lock, and it's just on the clamp, and basically, instead of me having to do this and slide a clamp on and off and up and down, this is locked forever in that position, and if I want to hold it here, it just maintains that, and I can go to town. I do think we could possibly get to that point with this pair of pliers, but it's just, you're gonna have it close. I can't come in and just leave it right here, you know, and be coming in on like some tiny little 5/16 fuel line, and if that's the sweet spot and I wanted it to lock, it'll lock right here, but I might have to go up one to have it do what I want it to do. I think it should be okay. It'll just take me some like getting used to, and again, you'll have to sort of ballpark a real sweet setup, which this might hit like $150 threshold, would kind of be if we could cross these two. If we had the SmartGrip's open automatic adjustment plus this lock, that would be, I would buy that. Like, I would, even having these, I would buy that. If it was something that was like exclusive to a truck, I would trade in probably this pair for that. But I assume, you know, they must be pretty satisfied with this, and I guess the consumers must be too, because that would be a pretty easy solution. And since it's not on the market, people are either really content with that, or they're very content with this, or between the two of them, a standard pair, they're good. Or maybe everyone's like, that's way too much money, just stick with that. Well, you can't get that, stick with the snap-on, whatever. Yeah, that's where like the bee's knees would really be. I think this is going to be okay. It's just, again, you're going to have to get it pretty close the first time to get it to do what you want it to do, which is lock. That said, it is kind of springing off a little bit, like there's a bit of a play there, right? So you'll have to keep that in mind. Again, I think it's all going to be about the positioning. And speaking of positioning, these are super, super cool. If they basically look sort of like a rook or a crown nut type of a thing, that's sort of what they are. But look at that. They swivel, they rotate, and that's going to give you a lot of different surfaces to capture something. Think of it as kind of like adjustable pliers that you can then spin. I do believe, like I said, I think you can replace those, so, you know, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say that's correct. So let's try to make sense of this in probably the second best way, which is to read this flyer. I had the catalog ready to go. True story, I opened directly to this page. Amazing, I know. So, these are spring hose clamp pliers with the retainer. That's obviously going to be what we just looked at. It's a single pair of pliers for all common flexible hose clamps, spring band clamps, spring band rings, and spring wire hose clamps. So what are we talking about? This stuff, okay? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that because I'm old school. That, not so much. Okay, it's kind of not looking like a good time. But if we read exactly what they want us to know, all right, and you just keep that eye candy right there for you, okay? We'll kick this back and slide those up, and I'm just going to read off camera so you don't have to scan it. But use your imagination, have some fun here. Check out, go to sleep, wake up with your phone hitting your forehead, whatever. Okay, you do you. The Knipex spring hose clamp pliers are extremely versatile by using fully rotatable grip inserts, again right here, for which a patent has been filed. Standard or space-saving clamps, spring band rings, as well as simple spring wire hose clamps is found in older vehicles, thank you, and are still, you know, that is true. They are used in household appliances. So washing machine, dishwasher, that type of stuff, you'll still see that style of a connector. So again, think like automated. No, this is anytime you deal with those clamps. So gripping and moving the clamps under load into the most diverse angles of approach, as well as at extremely difficult to reach locations, is made possible through the fully rotatable grip inserts in the narrow head. Case in point, these will rotate. That will allow, like if you're coming in and sliding, and you know how it works. You never have like a straight deal. Like if this is a heater hose on top of a small block Chrysler, you come in and then what happens? You got to go down. You got a 90-degree turn here. Maybe you put a 45, but you got to go down. That's where your, pipe nipple's coming up. So you got to have that clamp there. You can totally do that with the Channellock style pliers. But the problem is, the more you get your hand off course, the more likely these are to slip, and then that little spring is going to pop. And if you're lucky, the hose is attached and it's just going to rattle off, and be somewhere there tightened down in an area close to the termination point. If you're unlucky and you're trying to set that thing up, say on a virgin hose, and you're just here at the bench, going to slide it over and way up your radiator hose, if you're off track beforehand, that thing will spring, and these will spring, and the spring goes flying. And luckily, if you're dealing with a radiator hose, you'll be able to find it. But the smaller you go, the more cumbersome that is. So, the constant high leverage ratio of the Knipex spring hose clamp pliers protects muscles and tendons, especially when working with reinforced or very large spring band clamps. Again, that would be a huge deal. The bigger you go, the more cumbersome they tend to be. Open the jaws, completely releasing the locking device if necessary, which again, you would just simply press up or press down there, and that releases it that way. Precise adjustment to the spring band clamp with 21 possible settings. That makes my life way easier than having to try and count those and see where we overlapped. 21 of them. Adjust the desired gripping distance. Again, you'll have to be pretty close on that, which over time I'm sure you'll get it kind of dialed in. If you're familiar with Cobras, you should be close anyway. This might be a little more finite than that. You let it click into place after you've done that. Again, if you cross the SmartGrip with that, again, super cool there. Position the jaw inserts in the outer jaws. That's the plier handles with a serrated adjustment groove on the spring band clamp. Again, right here, you're going to note something special, what they just said there, and you're like, hey, you said this was like a Cobra. That's flat. Is that what's special? Not necessarily. What's special is up here. This is designed to actually pull hoses off, or push hoses on, or pull hoses on and push hoses off, whatever, right? Depends which direction you're staring at, what you're doing, I suppose. But that will allow you, again, that's sort of goes in a little bit towards justifying the cost, because you are getting kind of, it's not just a one-trick pony or a two-trick pony, it's a three-trick pony. So, kind of have that going for you. That brings the price down to $40 if you think of it that way, but it's all in one, so it's still the $120. I'm just trying to help you justify this. That's all I'm doing here. Let's see here. By pressing the pliers together, bring the jaw inserts on the lower jaw up to the other end of the ring. If the jaw inserts are securely in place, the pliers can be pressed together until the locking device engages. So that's what I'm wanting. Maybe they have this like sorted out better than I'm thinking it is with my little initial impressions. Again, I've truly never touched these things till now, so and I will use them tomorrow and probably get a good feel. The spring band clamp is opened by pressing the pliers together, which engages the locking device, thereby keeping them open. The spring band clamp can now be moved or removed, and you close the spring band clamp by pressing the pliers together and simultaneously pressing the locking device. You continue to press the locking device, allowing the plier handles to slowly open. So that may make more sense with pictures. And that's what we're going to take a look at. So figure 1 here, you're going to have rotatable grip inserts. Figure number 2, which is going to come down to that little trigger there, that is the retainer. And then in 3, you've got the fine adjustment of the push button. They actually don't highlight the jaws here, but you can see them kind of going to town on some of those clamps. And what I am going to do is go ahead and open up, you guessed it, The catalog of Knipex, education and learning. Here we come. So, yes, I had the bookmarked by a pair of Ghidorah pliers of all things. Let's give them a little bit of limelight there. Very nice. So, there is something I want to highlight here, and I don't have to deal with this stuff usually, because again, I prefer to hang out in the past. But this is what we've got. There is a 7¼ inch version, and there's a 10-inch version. The 10-inch version is what we've got. However, these are not locking. This is plain. If you think like, man, that looks really good, I don't think I'd have to have it lock. I'm more interested in that retaining ring. That would be huge if I could keep stuff from springing off. Those are going to have landing pads. Massive benefits there. This is your traditional Cobra style. I think you get the special serrated jaw with a flat jaw, but you would have those retaining rings, again 7¼ and 10. If you want to go all out like we did there, you would come over to this section and you would get this pair, which is the AF, which again has the lock. And then right here, this is kind of the same thing that you see up first. That's just for the click clamps. And again, personally, mainly constant tension, ringworm, and that sort of a thing. So right there is important to me, because not featured in that flyer is what they're doing here. You're thinking like, they don't even have a clamp on that, idiots. What are they doing? Well, they're using that to slide the hose on and off. So yes, if you're going to buy these, you probably already have a full arsenal. You've got hose pliers, you know, the little wraparound kind, whether they're good, cheap, and expensive. You probably got spoons, not just picks, but spoons, fancy things, right? This might be worth trying, especially again if it's like a line that I'm replacing because it's ruptured or seized or something, you know, just totally dry rotted, ballooning out and about to burst. If it's junk, this is when I would like to really play around with that, because I'm just going to try to get it off that fitting that we're probably reusing, go to town that way. But single pair of pliers for various sizes of clamps up to 2 3/4 diameter, rotating to jaw inserts. You can adapt to any position while still guaranteeing the clamps are securely positioned. Their applications are cars, trucks, air suction, cooling, charge air, water return, thermostat, and fuel heating. Right here, part number 8559250A is going to be your spare grip inserts. Those are again going to be for 7¼ and 10 non-locking, and the 10-inch locking. There's not a 7¼ locking, and again, there is no other grip option for you there. The click clamps, if you're curious, you do have a part number down there for those replaceable inserts as well. So seems like they've kind of got everything covered there in terms of like how they thought it out, and like, okay, these, somebody could lose these, or they could go flying or disappear or just wear out. So what I want to do, what these would go with is stuff like this. Have I not opened this before? Jeez. We'll just go right to the radiator of those clamps. So, boom. Looks like I've done something with those. This could be factory. I don't remember what I put them on. I always like to hang on to these, because you never know, like with aftermarket parts, you think the OE is worn or something, and you put an aftermarket part on there, and you think, yeah, it seems like the same thing. Sometimes the aftermarket stuff is junk, okay? So, right here, obviously, we're locked. So what do? We press. We've now opened it up. So, will this reach from this random position that we were in? Right there, I'm just trying to get that where I want it. And the way those work, again, this is much easier without a tripod in front of me. But you'll note, again, this is how I'm holding it. Traffic finger and thumb. Bad thumb and traffic finger. This has some play, and that's because, look at that little insert. See how she's rotating? Mainly at the top, not necessarily the bottom, because on the bottom, the clamp's ear is barely, it's not centered at all. It's offset to one side, but this is how you would probably grab something. These are sideways, upside down, occluded, hard to see. You're trying to save time, not take off 6 components above it, right? If you can snake this in there. So here's the deal, okay? I can pretty easily get the tension there. Now let's see if this is going to lock. It didn't. Let me try to death grip it. real quick. Keep in mind, there's a tripod here. I think I heard a lock. Hallelujah. Okay, this is going to be fine. With that play, I told you, like, there's that little bit of play there. It's going to be sloppy. Like, case in point, folks, like, I am not faking this. This is what we've got. Left hand, thumb and index finger. Right hand is up here dancing for you. This was probably me not fully thinking this was going to happen, and it did, and now I like these really, really, really well, like I thought I would. I was thinking they were kind of going to be sort of difficult to set up. I don't think that now, and that's why it's nice to do a bench test instead of just an initial impression. So this was expensive. Again, $121.65 now. We got it on a really good buy, probably the best buy I'd get on it, in all honesty. Tool of the day, Black Friday, or if there's like a seasonal sale type of a thing, that's when I would get these, unless you have these and you hate them and you use other similar tools and you hate them and you've seen this here and you think, yeah, that is coming home right there. You know, again, make it $220, put a warranty on it, I'm still buying it. If that's you, go to town. Everyone else, these are pretty freaking sweet. I will say though, if you can wait, if you can continue to get by, maybe these are really pretty good. Like, that's not what they are intended for, but they have been really good to me in terms of getting those off. Again, you could get by with that SmartGrip would be pretty good. Again, just keep in mind, you know, you don't have the locking feature here. The locking feature, ooh, yeah, that's setting some things off there. So I am impressed. Again, this is pretty much what I hoped I was buying, and then as we opened them up and we were playing with them, I was like, oh no, this is, I don't think it's going to do what I thought it did, and it totally does that. So I am relieved, I'm happy, I'm excited, and these will hopefully make my life a little bit more enjoyable tomorrow. So yeah, right here, and again, check this out. Something you might do is death grip these. Again, if you do that, we're not riding off of that lock. Okay, so that's good. You can hit that point and still go to town, and boom. Now, in terms of how gripped is this, I don't have safety glasses on, but let's go in with this pair. This is really a test here. Again, I'm just daintily holding this. This is me wanting to know what those inserts are going to do. I think we can get it and probably pop it out. I am surprised that held, because again, you saw, I know it's not focused well, I don't have a third hand. That is totally not centered on this bottom jaw, and it's staying in. Now, if I twisted this, okay, I don't want to tear that clamp up because I'll probably need it at some point, but I put pretty decent force into that, evidenced by the marks we left. These are sweet. Now, this is where it might backfire. You know what we did there, how off-centered did we make it, or did it hold like regular? I'm death gripping just for the time being. Okay. Consider me sold on these. This is, again, something I wish I would have had a long time ago. But I have no complaints because we were patient and we held out, got by. But right here, like if that's your point, you're just going to have to squeeze down and this will eventually catch. So that is fan-freaking-tastic news. What are we going to do now? I pulled this out. Long before there were Milwaukee packouts and stuff and crazes like that, there was my El Cheapo Stanleys, which I still use. And somewhere in here, we should have... I thought this was where I'd put all those clamps, and I could totally be wrong. This is a mix of fuel fittings and carb parts and filter replacement elements. Jets. Not many jets, but a few jets. The others are in a better case. Well, this is stupid. I thought... Hey! I didn't know I had nickel finish stuff in here. I'm kind of going to order that. So... Did I not... Where are they? 1 second. There should have been like a stack of these things. Okay, let me, well, I do apologize. I don't seem to have what I thought I had in here. Not at all. But this style of fuel filter right here, ooh, I can still smell it. This one's used, obviously. But for a while, I ran these all the time. And you could get them, it was really cool. They came in like different colors even. So I'd run the blue and this and black, I think. There was like a red anodized color. But it was basically like a centered bronze element, right? And I could, ethanol ruins everything when you're not boosted. Oh yeah, it smells so good though. Classic gas. It's from the glory days, man. So this, I kind of went all in on this because I was like, yeah, you know, instead of me just like throwing away some junky ugly, that was a big thing. The canister filters were ugly, right? So I would run these in line as you started to have like cruddier and cruddier gas. I was like having some serious power valve issues and stuff. So I would just run these. I have a ton. I must have another container because I don't see my filter elements either. But I built up an arsenal of these. And what they had, they all came, and I didn't use them. That's why I thought they were in here. The like shiny, chrome-plated, just plain Jane, old school. Like this is modern new tech compared to what I'm talking about. But there were tons of them, and that's what I was actually going to use to showcase that. But I don't know where they are. Again, in part because I started like doing different fuel systems. But yeah. By the way, if you want to use a clamp on like fuel injection stuff, which isn't advisable, these ones from Earl's are pretty good. I think you can kind of see them there. But yeah, I thought I had a whole bin. Like I'm talking like probably 20 never touched, never used. I know I've got them somewhere. I don't know where. So I do apologize. I ripped out the first container. I'm like, nope, that's electrical. Let me get the fuel one. I must have them in a different container. So that said, since that bombed over here, I saw it, I think, when I was looking for the bit of thanks. Okay, right here. This is a great example. Okay, so what we have here, some of you are going to know instantly. Oh yeah, check out that crusty goodness. But this is a good real world example. We've shown the clamp by itself, you know, new or used out of the box. Now we're going to come in here. I'm not going to touch or adjust these. I'm just going to unlock. Okay, I'm just going to unlock, I said. Thank you. And now again, I'm just going to stab this. Did I center it better? Maybe. Do I care? No, because it makes a better demonstration. So once again, hand here is going to do nothing. This hand, we're just going to go until it clicks. Oh. Now obviously I get a little bit more, so that tells us, you know, we do need to adjust it down a setting or two. So let's do that. Let's actually release, and we know we need to come in 1 or 2 slots. Again, there were what, 21 of these. Let's not go all the way closed, and let's release. Let's see if we get this one. Could I have totally slid that off? Yes, but I would like it to be smooth and easy. There's our lock. You know what? We may have to go all the way in. So unlock. Let's just go all the way here for this one. And what do? We unlock. That's our max range here. We're going to somewhat center it. And now again, check it out. We'll left hand it this time. Uh-oh. Not getting to the locking point, but this is what I typically have to do, and here's the problem. When I let go of that thing, like, there is a lot of force being applied to my hand right now. And that is not fun, that is not good, but these do a fantastic, I would tell you right now, if you're interested in this, and tool of the day is the iteration, be it 7 1/4 or 10, that doesn't have the lock. These are way better than I thought they would be. I was thinking like the thing I would like the best is the lock. This little gem here, ooh, that's, I'm sort of on the fence about that. We've only done 2 things, but it seems to work really well. Case in point here, see how I lined that up? And this is like ideally sized for something in this size range. We come in, and that is a lot of force I'm having to use. And as soon as I twist or tilt, or like that's killing my thumb that's got the issues, if I were to let go, that shoots off like a rocket ship, right? So boom, again, the saving grace with these is right there, that big slot where you sort of see like that drilled hole. Those angled slots do a good job, which sadly, again, so many people have told me they've tried to buy that thing and they can't. Channellock really needs to bring that thing back out. These I've gotten really good with. Again, they are not great for this, but they are pretty dadgum good. The other thing with these, and this is a great perfect teaching point, if I come in and I'm trying to grip right here, and you think like, well, take that thing off, man, show us that we don't need to spend 120. Here's where these have problems. Okay, and this is perfect because this looks like I should just squeeze it and take it off, right? Look where this is. It's caught up on the clamp. So I'm gonna have to release, and then I have to come out closer towards the end, okay? And it's really hard to do that with a tripod and my thumb going numb. But right there, I think now I've got it in a better spot. This would work perfect, okay? I say that. There we go. And what is it doing now? It's actually digging that into the clamp, which is not good. It's gonna make it cumbersome. So I'm just gonna let go, and let's lock this in place. And let's try the smart grips here. This is kind of an application where these smart grips are probably going to be fine because we control the hose here. But if I come in and I'm just reaching to get the jaw over this, if this bottom jaw goes in too far, I've done the same thing. I've locked it. See how much jaw we have going in? And it's digging in to this profile on the constant tension clamp. So we throw that to the side. If I were to come in, I've crushed the snap-ons, come in with something like this old school manual, I've done the same thing, just my natural position, I've grabbed it. So what do you do to correct? You have to come off and daintily hold that thing. Now right here, and I've gotten pretty good with these snap-ons doing that, the biggest issue is they don't have a retaining ring like the Channellock. So while they grip really well, you're having to stay so far out because of your inability to get in there. It's just basically me, the end user, landing, looking like I've done everything well and right, and then you find out like, oh geez, you know. And you 100% can, if you really squeeze down, especially with these. See how this is a solid band right there? This gray one is not. This slot, oh, that slot. If I really squeezed with either the Knipex SmartGrips or the Wihas, you can dig that in there and it will usually pop through there. Obviously on the solid bands it won't. There's no physical way for that to happen. But with these, I can get that same kind of cruddy approach. And case in point, like I just come in and grab it, I get it to that size. Watch this. Do you see the difference? I'm able to go lock to lock, and why? Because these, look where that's positioned. These little guides keep this jaw, which again is kind of flushed off more, but it keeps the jaw from digging into the sidewall of the clamp. Killer setup. And that makes me happy. So, again, this is why, you know, I was thinking like, you know, these won't take long, and then I thought, you know, that I want to spend some time on. I am pretty freaking happy now. Those, we didn't get it to lock down, but again, with this one, and again, we'll have to come out a bit, so we'll unlock, drop in, go right here. And so, like I said, tripod not being in front of me helps a lot. That is like full-on vertical, okay? So I'm going to come in. Did you hear the click? That magic thing right there is what thrills me beyond your wildest imaginations. And just like that, 229 minute plus clips where I've timed out. We're close to an hour. And I do apologize, but it's totally worth it because you need to see not just that this tool exists and then, oh, hey, that looks pretty cool. And oh, yeah, I had the same concerns, but it worked. That's amazing. You need to know why you would buy it. Like some of you probably have the same, like maybe you're running the Channellocks over here, right? Fantastic. You know the limitations. Some of you are probably using this or something similar to it. Again, great in most applications. Some of you might even taken my advice years back and picked these up, you've probably had that thing happen where your jaw is too far in, because again, you're trying to keep it from flying off. It's natural to do that. You land it and you're like, great, you squeeze down, everything's good, and then you create the stopping point where I can't physically get this off the hose because I need to squeeze more to expand it, but my own jaw is rubbing into this channel right here and it's digging into it. That's not good. It's going to stop you. You're going to have to come back off. You're going to have to reseat, trying to pay more attention, and you also then have to put yourself in a losing predicament where you need to clear the clamp, but you have to sacrifice the grip that you had previously. These position it optimally. This might be, again, to me, this is great. It's not necessary. I think I could have bought the plain non-locking versions a while back at an okay price, but I was like heart set on these, just like the TwinForce with a 2-component, and I kind of regret that now because these are so good at, I'd always thought like, I don't need that, like we want the lock, but now having played with these and seeing like there's a thumb width here, okay, well, and I'm not worried about like getting crushed or sprung back. Like, we've barely played with these and I trust them. This setup here with the rotating design, it actually works pretty dadgum good. So again, I am thrilled at this moment in time. And I also want to wrap this up because unlike you that just has to watch it, I have to edit it. And I timestamp stuff for your convenience. So what I want to know from you, do you have these? Do you have the locking pair? Do you have the non-locking pair? If you have the non-locking and the locking, which one do you find yourself enjoying more? Do you think the locking was worth it over the non-locking? If you don't have either one of them, which route would you go? Would you go standard pair, maybe the 7 1/4, and this is a locking 10-inch? Would you stay away from them and be like, hey, I've got one of these, or my granddad or dad had one, and that's all I need, or hey, I bought one of those probably around the time you did for $16. I ain't going this route. Or is this like the greatest thing that you've ever seen that you didn't know existed? Again, as you go up in price, especially with the German tools, you're going to be less likely to see stuff, right? Like Cobra 7 10-inch, oh hey, let's showcase that and make a video. Specialty stuff and stuff that goes up, people stay away from, right? For me, this has turned out to work as well as I had hoped, and it's still expensive in my opinion. Like I said, I kind of think like if those could be priced around like $80 even, I think like you would move so many more of them. That jump to 120 is, that's a big pill to swallow, right? That said, having played with these, I don't think I would hesitate. Like, if I lose these, if these were stolen, if somebody borrows them and never brings them back, I don't think I'd have any hesitation purchasing these again. I would, however, be cheap and hold out for a sale. Maybe not tool of the day, because Lord knows when that would come up and you might not catch it. But if there's like 20% off Knipex, or it's Black Friday, have 20% off. Or if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again and you get 15%, this is when you're like, okay, hey, those things are never on sale. Let's do it. I waited a really, really, really long time, and yeah, I'm very happy to have them now, and I'm super happy to have the TwinForce in the handle that I desired, even though it turns out those grips are kind of weird when you look top down. But these are stupid cool. Stupid cool. Let me know, again, what you like, what you would do, what you've had success with, what you hate, if you'd never touch something again. If you do have these, like, how long do those landing pads hold up? Is it something that they pop off and fall? Do they lock down? Do they get dirty and they get gritty and then they don't rotate and it's like causes frustration? Or is it still better than what you had? Those are questions I can't answer yet because we need to use the tool more. But like I said, I'll get started tomorrow, and we'll kind of see how things progress. But, right here, if that's just way you cannot swing for that at all, if you can find these, I mean, any style of them, these are pretty legit. It's just, again, be warned, you know, they're not going to have the lock, and they're going to be a little bit harder to articulate. Another good option, again, just like long needle nose pliers. I think you'll be okay there. But these are stupid cool. Like, I'm so happy that they function like I thought, and not like I was afraid they were going to be when we were just unboxing them. So with that said, you would think, like, hey, you know, like those two, I've heard you talk about that, and I've heard you mention the TwinForce before. There's got to be, you know, like, you haven't said, like, hey, I still lack, you know, 5 pairs of pliers that I really want from Knipex, or there's still 2, or, you know, I'm down to just needing 1. That would have been everything until I saw this. Okay, I folded this over so we could open to it quickly. These are called special retaining ring pliers, and I will be straight up honest with you, this would be seldom used, okay? But it was Friday at work. The punch, we had a punch and a die, and the die was probably cracked already. But the punch just mangled. The spare was also mangled, and it wasn't reported, so we basically have nothing now. And I frantically got on, and I had the die, and I said, never in my life, like, we had so many punches and dies and everything set up, I've never in all my time there had to purchase a punch or a die. And I'm talking like iron worker stuff, not like hand. This is iron worker, okay? So I'm going over there, and I'm like, good Lord, where do I begin? Like, I don't know. Is it like Scotchman? Is it more? I don't know. And so, luckily, in a dusty box, I found a whole bunch of, like, stuff that we still have unopened. And, of course, none of it was what I needed. That would have been too cool and convenient. But I found the company, and it was Cleveland, and I was like, okay, that gives me something to work on. And then I grabbed the punch, the die, and I got the number. I could still read it. And then I got the punch, and I'm like, okay, there's no number on there. That shit is, like, made up, right? And I come in, and instead of emailing, instead of calling, because I was like, oh, they're probably closed, there's a chat deal. And I'm like, you know what? That'll just submit it, and if they have, like, somebody sitting around, maybe they'll, like, get to it faster than an email. There was a chick there, and she knew what she was doing. And it was like a real, like, I've never used those things. It's not like some automated thing that just wants to get rid of you, or is like, we've submitted this to corporate, expect a response in 2 to 3 days, whatever. This was like a chick that knew what she was doing. And I'm like, oh, geez. So turns out she needed the part number off of the punch, and of course, can't see a part number. So I ran out there, grabbed another guy, and I said, like, look, dude, we got 2 of these things. He's like, there's no part numbers on it. I looked, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm thinking it's underneath his collar. And what did we have? We had this. And you think, like, oh yeah, circlip. No. Like, snap ring? No. Nothing. There was nothing. You have no orifice to go into. You've got nothing. This is straight up old school industrial. And I was like, man, it'd be really nice if there was a pair of pliers for this. Just flipping through here, trying to get back to the page on these little funky gripping pliers, I came upon this, and now that's something I'm going to have to pick up. And, essentially, again, you won't use that if you're just getting into that. Like, if you go and you buy like an old punch, right? You know, like an industrial equipment in an auction or something, and you get it running and it's a good machine, which, spoiler alert, it will be if it's old. If you get it going, and the place you bought it from probably going to throw in punches and dies if they know where they're at, or if they're just with the machine, which they probably are. But it's probably not what you want. Maybe you want to come in and you need like offset ovals, or you need this size of hole and it's not there. You can come in and buy that stuff, but the catch is, like, you can pull the threads off for the punch to be held in, but you're going to have to take that stupid ring off. And that is when you would come in and buy these, and people would come by your toolbox and be like, oh, those are Knipex snap ring pliers. I always wanted to look at them. Let me check them out. And they're like, wait, what is this for? And you would rarely, if ever, use it beyond that application. I guess anything with a shaft and that sort of a, seal retainer. But yeah, that is on the old wish list now. So how did we get them off? Hammer and chisel, of course. So, yeah, and one of them did not have a part number underneath. I don't know, that must go way back. The other one did, so that's all I needed. Again, I just assumed, like, if I've got the die number, you should know the punch number, right? But apparently it needed to be spec'd out. And of course, as fate would have it, this is not a common stocked item. They had their drop-down arrow thing. That's why I did the chat for them. I was like, well, you know, they don't have my size here. Let me just ask them, and they're probably going to say they don't have it. And it was like, oh, no, the reason it's not listed is because it's going to take, you know, we'd have to custom make it. We'll need about a week. And I was like, wait, this is a real person. Panic attack, right? Like, oh, geez. So, yeah, I think that probably doesn't help when you're like frantically trying to get something that's difficult to remove off anyway, because usually you don't have much trouble with it, but when you're in a hurry, everything's worse. So, yeah. Are there any other dream bucket list Knipex pliers? Maybe, but I will tell you right now, that little thing came into view, and again, just like these, you don't have to have that. I mean, I didn't know the things existed. I was like, you know, somebody should really make pliers for this. Well, it turns out they did. You know, so it would just be really nice and save a lot of time. I assume, especially if you could keep that ring from going flying, which both of them did. But anyway, that's where I'll end it. That's a little teaser of something I hope to pick up. In fact, I'm going to go in tonight and see what the price is on them, because again, I've never looked at them because I didn't know they existed. So that is that. 2 pairs of pliers, lots of action, lots of hopefully entertaining and educational information for you. If not, you know, hey, you know, at least I put you to sleep, right? Maybe your wife probably checked out, you know, in the first 20 minutes or so, but hey, it's what I do, however I can help. So, how can you help? Let me know your thoughts, again, especially first-hand feedback. Bee's knees, greatest thing ever, worst, terrible, wonderful till they break, and they break early. If you have feedback like that, first-hand experience, tell people. If you know of something similar from a different brand that you love and have had great success with over X years, tell people. That's the end goal, is to help people out. And I do that with timestamps and links, again, which you can find down below. If you like this and you want to help me out, you can leave a like, you can subscribe to the channel. If you really like what I'm doing, you can do that and ring the bell. All of these things free of charge. If you ring the bell, jump your charger across the creek while wielding your Knipex 8551 250 AFs. YouTube just might notify you we got brand new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, again, super happy with these. I think those little pliers, which I probably forgot we even did them, are going to be pretty handy too. And since I did slide the snap-on out there, that's the first time I've ever like mentioned it. I'm hoping either this video is so far out there that we crest 10,000, and if you see that and I'm still abysmally slow growing because it's an ancient channel that YouTube doesn't care about, spread the word on it. Tell your friends, family members, use your wife's spare account, whatever, and see if you can help me out, because again, we've got quite a bit, not a ton. I mean, there's probably like 5-6 videos, but there could be more on the way. But we do have the snap-on stuff. It is here. The videos are made. The stuff is being used. So if you want to see that, help get me to 10K. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having yourself a great week. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop.